Hello everyone, the Son of the West again. Today I'd like to talk to you about entheogens and destroying the ego, or ego death. Okay. Alright, guys and girls, understand that the ego is nothing more than the autopilot or the enslaved lower mind or limited perception of the lower physical self. The mind of the body. Only concerned about survival and the basest level of existence. Upon finding our higher self, the ego dies. In other words, once one finds the unlimited knowledge of the universal eternal consciousness, the limitation of worldly temporal physical consciousness is removed. Imagine two cars which are made at the same factory. Well, these cars are owned by different owners. And one of the owners discovers a governor on the car and removes it. Okay. The governor is there to prevent the vehicle from performing at its peak ability. The leaders of our society have made it illegal to remove the governor in order to prevent others from desiring to remove the governor. Because once you realize your potential, you're just going to want to show others their potential. And so they've made it illegal to remove the governor or the ego to fully perform because they're afraid of losing control. Okay, so this governor is the ego of our body. It is the limiter which prevents us from being all we can be. And if we live our whole lives under the ego control or autopilot, then we'll never truly live and will be autopiloted down the path of self-destruction. We need to get off that path. Look at the world around us. We're definitely headed to self-destruction. If you don't want to self-destruct, then you need to figure out how to overcome your ego. Okay, and God's provided the perfect tool for that. It's called psilocybin mushrooms. They're very easy to grow. But I can't grow them for you. You got to do this on your own. So, if we don't ever overcome the ego control or the autopilot, then we'll never truly live, like I said, and we'll be autopiloted down the path of self-destruction. So, in order to get off that path, we need to let go of the ego. Okay, the ego is where all of our suffering comes from. It is the part of us which creates the illusion of separation and competitiveness. It is the root of all the 7 deadly sins, which are themselves simply desires of the lower physical self. Physical desire in any form. Your body has needs, but you don't have to answer every single little thing that it tells you to do. When you're gardening, in the garden, you don't see a weed and just cut the top off, right? You dig out the root. If you just cut the top off, the weed's just going to grow back extra strong and a lot bigger. So dig that root out. Thankfully, God has prepared weed killer in the form of psilocybin mushrooms specifically to help us in this task. The part of the Bible says, "Blessed are you, Peter, the things of my Father have shown this to you." He's talking, the things of my Father are mushrooms and other entheogens. That's what he's talking about. The truth is, the ego or the autopilot is a very necessary part of each one of us in our early years, before we are strong enough to understand what the needs of the body are. Because remember, our bodies are our vessels to guide us along this journey, to help us through our journey through this world of understanding. But once you're strong enough and capable of meeting the needs of the body, then you need to take control of the body and stop letting the body control you. And that's what overcoming ego is. But throughout our lives, we're meant to overcome the control of the machine and learn to operate our vessels from the highest purpose, instead of simply trying to be comfortable and survive, which are, again, the lowest perspectives of life. Research psychedelic experience on the Wikipedia, and you will see that during a level 5 experience, that ego death is common. Ego death is nothing more than you turning off the autopilot. In fact, this is what Jesus was talking about in the Gospel of Thomas, number 61. Jesus said, "Two will recline on a couch. One will die, and one will live." Salome said, "Who are you, mister? You have climbed onto my couch, and have eaten from my table as if you are from someone." Jesus said to her, "I am the one who comes from what is whole. I was granted from the things of my Father." And that's what psilocybin mushrooms do. They give you the Christ consciousness, the consciousness that is of God, that is here to help others. And so that's why he was there talking to Salome. Well, Salome said, "I am your disciple." Jesus said, "For this reason I say, if one is whole, one will be filled with light. But if one is divided, one will be filled with darkness." He was speaking of ego death and overcoming the illusion of separation. If one is whole, and achieving enlightenment, be filled with light. Once we overcome the autopilot and ego consciousness and gain enough spiritual strength to pilot the body, the vessel, then we can focus on the path of spiritual growth and help others spiritually grow. So the thing is I've made these videos to help you, because understand that there's no organized religion right now that teaches anything like this. Okay? If you don't know, then you can't really grow. You can't really overcome the problem. If you don't know that there's a battle going on, you're less likely to fight. Okay, so that's what is actually happening here. You're being misdirected. You're being distracted so that you don't overcome your lower self. In this world of illusion, we are unconscious in heaven. When we die in this world, we actually wake up in heaven. And that's what ego death is. Ego death is this worldly self ending so that you can come into being in heaven. And this is what a level 5 psychedelic experience does. It temporarily wakes us up in heaven so that we can look to the Father and refocus on a spiritual goal. Ego death and then wake up in heaven is looking to the Father. This is why many people perceive that they might be dying when they eat a large dose of shrooms or other entheogens. The ego makes you think that you're dying so that you fight to protect its control over you. To fully wake up in heaven, your consciousness must leave the world. And that's what happens. Your consciousness leaves the body, and then ego death happens, because that's the autopilot dying, because you don't die. That is, letting your consciousness leave the world, that is in itself death, but is not the end. It's the end of the autopilot, the end of the ego. It is an illusion to test whether you are selfish or not. Selfish people fight the end. Selfless people go with the flow. To wake up in heaven before you actually die is what Jesus meant in the Gospel of Thomas, number 19. Congratulations to the one who came into being before coming into being. That's exactly what he's talking about. When you learn how to leave the world, when you learn how to transcend your consciousness to your higher self, that is what it is to come into being, to realize yourself, to realize your true self. And it's the greatest feeling in the whole world, to complete your life journey while you're alive, so that you know that you've already done what you needed to do, and you can just focus on enjoying your life and helping others reach their goals so that they can enjoy your life, their lives. Because to truly help others, to know that you've given them what they needed, even though they didn't know that they needed it, that is the greatest feeling in the world. So that's what I'm trying to do here with these videos, is I'm trying to help you overcome the ego so that you can help your friends. Jesus in the Gospel of Thomas said, protect your friends like you protect your own eye. And only once you remove the timber from your own eye can you see well enough to remove the splinter from your friend's eye. So he's talking about using entheogens to help yourself and then help your friends. So let's kill the ego, guys. Let's get rid of it. It's no good. It's only there to, to set up the programming that you need to make sure that the body has everything that it needs so that you can live out a full life cycle and use it for what it was intended for. And if you have any questions, you can log on to me. You can subscribe to me. If you have any questions, I'm on Transcend Self on Twitter. And my books, you can look at my books, Sean Williams, lulu.com. Finally, the truth comes out, and Meditation, The Mystic Path, and The Keys of Knowledge by Sean Williams. They're both available free as downloads on lulu.com. We need to let go of the ego. Just relax and let it go. You don't need it. It's time to wake up. And let's make this world as beautiful as it can be, because it can be so much more than it is. But we have to overcome selfishness and greed and all of the lower desires of your lower self. And in order to do that, entheogens are the perfect tool for that, specifically psilocybin mushrooms. So keep tripping. Help your friends. Good luck.